Hello everyone, this is part 1 of What If Naruto Was Like Gaara. This story is made by Divine Dragon Lord, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
My membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. Be sure to like and subscribe, it gives me more motivation. Enjoy. The air was heavy with the smell of blood, the screams of innocent people could be heard emanating throughout. The air was heavy with the smell of blood, the screams of innocent people could be heard emanating throughout the area. A giant fox with 9 tails was attacking a village called Konoha, then a man topped upon a giant toad appeared before the fox. "QB, please leave this area and you won't be harmed," called the man known as the fourth Hokage. The fox left out a mighty roar, then made a swipe at the giant toad, who dodged the attack with little effort. The toad then started to draw a large knife from a hidden sheath. "There's no need, Boss Toad, I've got no choice but to use that technique," said the fourth. "But Minato, if you use that you will," Boss Toad trailed off. "Yes, Boss Toad, I know," said the fourth as he did the needed hand signs. Then the Death Reaper summons appeared behind him. The fox stared angrily at the fourth. Then the summons pushed its arm through the stomach of the fourth, then stretched out towards the fox. Then pulled out its very soul. The fourth did another set of signs and the soul was transferred to the body of a newborn baby. "Be safe, my son," said Minato as he fell atop the toad's head. His eyes stared at the fox unseeing. Boss Toad stared at a man dressed in a red and gray fighting suit. His white hair flowed in the blood-scented air. The man walked to the head of the toad and picked up the limp body of the greatest Hokage to ever live. Then he disappeared in a puff of smoke, as did Boss Toad. He reappeared before a man who was carrying a baby boy with blonde spiked hair, 3 whisker marks on each cheek. The Death Reaper's seal was glowing black across the boy's stomach. "What will we do about him?" asked Jiraiya, nodding towards the kid. "He'll be placed in an orphanage and cared for," said the third Hokage. Jiraiya nodded, then took the body of the fourth to have him buried with his wife. 12 years later, Naruto awoke inside of his apartment building after having a dream that had been reoccurring for several days now. He looked around to see a very messy apartment complex. It was littered with ramen noodle cups and his dirty laundry. In front of him was a life-size mirror that showed a fairly tanned boy with whisker-like birthmarks staring uncaringly back at him. He growled at the image before him, then sat to the side of his bed so not to look at it anymore. He'd grown to hate himself almost as much as he hated the people around him. For some unknown reason to him he was called demon and monster whenever he would enter town. He got up and stretched his fairly muscled body, causing some of them to show through his slightly too small black shirt. He walked over to his dresser and pulled out a pair of black pants and another black shirt. He pulled off his old one and tossed it aside before pulling on his new one and his pants. He then looked up to a hook that he had put beside his door. On it was a crimson-red jacket with a small blue swirl on the back of it. He pulled it off the hanger and put it on. The coat was made of leather so that it would be light to wear and able to keep him warm. He walked out of the apartment, pulled a set of keys from his coat pocket and locked it up. He then headed out of the apartment complex. Upon entering the streets, he was met with the usual gazes of hate and fear. He ignored these and continued onwards to the forest of the village. In here he felt content, if only for a few moments. He knew that soon he would have to go to the academy for his ninja testing. Not that it mattered to him, but he figured if he was going to keep being attacked by the villagers, he might as well be able to take them down in one strike if necessary. He smiled as he imagined himself being surrounded by about 10 of the villagers and killing them all with one swipe of his kunai. Suddenly he felt a presence close by. He turned to see a girl about his age hiding behind a tree. She was wearing a brown parka that was about 2 sizes too big for her and a pair of blue pants that covered half of her shins. "Come out, I know you're there," he growled, pulling out a kunai, expecting her to be one of the villagers. The girl looked from the behind the tree with fear on her face that was now as red as a tomato. "Oh, what do you want?" he growled again. His blue eyes stared the girl down like a hawk to a mouse. She took a step backwards and tripped on a tree root and fell on her butt. Aruka, sensei, sentem, me, too, come, find you," she said in a whisper-like tone. Naruto stared at her for a few more seconds, then left out a low grunt as he replaced his kunai to the pouch on his leg. He then walked towards the village, leaving the girl to sit in the dirt. He had no remorse left in himself to care as to whether or not she was all right. He continued back into town and found people giving him the same dark stares that they had before he left. Naruto, I'm not giving up on you. I'll show you that there are people here who care about you, thought the girl that Naruto had scared into sping. She walked a good distance away from him with an almost dreamy look in her white pupilless eyes. She pulled back some of her stay hairs from her eyes to get a better look at her first love. Naruto turned to her direction. She quickly hid behind a pole. She could see him look around, his kunai drawn once again. Then when he was sure that no one was going to attack him, he resheathed it. Then walked down the road, glares following him like searchlights. Hinata felt a small tear roll down her face as she watched the people. I wonder how long she's going to keep following me, thought Naruto as he sensed Hinata continue to follow him through the village. Why not just kill her? Said a deep voice from nowhere. Naruto turned around with a kunai in his hand. He looked around very slowly, scanning the area for any sign of a would-be assassin. Once he was satisfied that he must have been hearing things, he replaced his kunai and continued walking with Hinata not too far behind. They finally reached the academy just in time for the bell signaling everyone to go to class. Naruto ran to the end of the line followed by Hinata. Oh, what do we have here? The monster and the disgrace, said a girl with blonde hair wearing a purple top with a purple skirt and white shorts underneath that. Good day, class. All of you here will now be taking the written part of the Jonin exam, said the man that had stopped Naruto from King Ino. Once everyone had a paper, the man returned to the front of the class. Ready and begin, said the man. The sounds of pencils scratching word into paper could be heard throughout the classroom. There was a sudden clatter as Naruto's pencil was the first to stop writing. He had taken this test 3 times before. He knew the answers to the questions by heart. He then leaned back into his chair and placed his feet on his desk. Once everyone finished, Iruka walked around and collected the papers. Now class, the next part of the test will be transformation and clone jutsu, said Iruka, trying to regain his class's attention. Everyone gave him one last glare, then returned their attentions to Iruka. The first jutsu you will be using will be the transformation jutsu, said Iruka. Now when I call your name you'll come up and perform the jutsu, said Iruka. There was a knock on the door of the class. Iruka turned to the door to see a man dressed in a green vest and blue fighting suit. He had purple hair and a childlike face. Ah yes, I'd almost forgotten, class. This is Mizuke-sensei. He will be assisting me in testing you, said Iruka, as he and Mizuke took a seat. First will be Shino Aburame, said Iruka. A boy dressed in a large overcoat walked forwards. His face was hidden behind the coat, his eyes by dark sunglasses. He was now facing the 2 senseis. First you are to transform into either Mizuke-sensei or myself, said Iruka. Shino nodded, then began a series of hand signs before he was covered in a puff of smoke. Then an exact copy of Mizuke-sensei appeared before them. In another puff of smoke he had changed back. Very good, Shino. Now could you please demonstrate a clone jutsu, said Iruka. Shino nodded again, then a wave of bugs flew from his body, turning into exact copies of himself. Very good, Shino, you pass, said Iruka as Shino bowed and took his seat. Next is Choji Akamaki, said Iruka. A rather chubby boy walked to the head of the class and performed the same jutsus flawlessly. Great. Next is Hinata Hyuga, said Iruka. A quiet gasp escaped the girl sitting next to Naruto as she stood up and walked down to the front of the class. She performed the jutsus just as well as the 2 before her. She sighed with relief when she was told she passed. After the calling of many students, it was finally Naruto's turn. He walked to the front of the class. He gathered his chakra, then transformed into an exact replica of Iruka-sensei, only with a scowl on his face. Then he changed back. Now Naruto, please demonstrate the clone jutsu, said Mizuke. Naruto did a set of hand signs and produced a clone that looked like it was a badly drawn version of himself. Everyone in the class laughed at his failure, everyone except Hinata. Naruto, I wish I could help you, she thought as Naruto glared at the laughing crowd before taking his seat. This only caused them to laugh even harder. Now settle down, class. Now will those who graduated please come forwards to be given your headband, asked Iruka. Everyone except Naruto lined up and were given headbands. Naruto sighed as he watched another group leave the class with shining headbands while he stayed behind. I'm sorry, Naruto, said Iruka once everyone had left. Go jump off a bridge, said Naruto glaring at his sensei. What happened to you, Naruto? thought Iruka as he remembered a time when Naruto used to actually smile. Flashback. Hey Iruka-sensei, are you going to be teaching us shuriken throwing today? Asked a young Naruto with a bright smile on his face. Maybe Naruto, we'll see, said Iruka beaming at his favorite pupil. Alright, shouted Naruto. End flashback. It seems so long ago, but in reality it was only a year ago that he stopped smiling and became nothing but an empty shell full of anger and hate, thought Iruka as he watched Naruto exit the building. Hey Naruto, he called, running after him. Naruto stopped and glared at his sensei as if wishing nothing more than to K him on the spot. Now what? He asked. I was wondering if you wanted to get some ramen. Asked Iruka. Naruto continued to glare at him. No thanks, I've already made other plans, said Naruto. With that he walked away, leaving a dumbstruck Iruka behind. Naruto turned down ramen, echoed through his mind before he lost consciousness. Naruto walked through the village. Everyone was out celebrating having made Janine. Naruto turned the corner to his apartment when he was stopped by a man and 3 boys. Well, what do we have here if it isn't the little monster, said the man. Yeah, the only one in our class who couldn't make Janine, said one of the boys with a smug look on his face. Hey boys, why don't you show him what it takes to be a real ninja, said the boy's father. Okay, they all said in unison. Naruto lowered his head and allowed him to punch, kick and hurt him in any way possible. Each time they threw him down, he got right back up and allowed him to attack once again. Hey, what are you doing? Shouted someone nearby. What does it look like? My boys are showing this demon what it means to be a true ninja, said the father. Naruto had just been thrown down again. His face was battered, bruised, and swollen. His lip was covered in blood. He got to his feet once again. The boys smiled and continued their onslaught of beating the living crap out of him. Naruto tried to walk past them only to have them throw him backwards. Then with one final kick to the gut he was sent to the hard ground. Suddenly a man dressed in grey robes appeared before the 6 of them, keeping the boys away from Naruto. I think you've had enough fun for one night, said the man. His dark hair ran past his shoulders. The boys sighed as they and their father walked away. Naruto got to his feet again. Anger filled his bright blue eyes like fire. What the hell did you do that for? Now they'll just come looking for me later to finish the job instead of getting it out of their system, said Naruto, walking past the man without even looking at him. Just one question before you go, asked the man. What is it? Said Naruto, not even turning to face his rescuer. Why didn't you fight back? Asked the man. Because when I fight back people that is why I take the beatings, because I am a monster and am rightfully punished by these people in any way they see fit, said Naruto coldly. Funny, my daughter says that you're a kind person, someone she looked up to. I don't see that in the person standing before me, said the man. Yeah, well, what do you know about me? Said Naruto. He started walking only to collapse in the middle of the sidewalk. The man made his way over to him. Go away, I don't need your help, he grunted, getting to his feet. Then he clutched his ribs. He could feel warm blood begin to soak through his shirt, blessing the man that made his jacket scarlet red. If you don't get that wound treated you won't make it home, said the man. I'll be fine, I've had worse done. He then lost consciousness and collapsed. The man walked over to him. His white pupilless eyes showed brightly from the light of the nearby shops. He picked the boy up and hoisted him over his shoulder, then in one giant leap found himself outside the Hyuga complex. He took the boy inside and placed him in one of the many spare bedrooms. He then ordered his servants to treat and dress his wounds. He then walked to a room that was a few hallways down to check on his daughter. He cracked the door open to see her resting peacefully on her bed like a little angel. Sleep well, Hinata, he whispered as he shut the door behind him quietly, as he could then walk to the room next to hers to see his other daughter resting peacefully. Sleep well, Hinabi, he said, walking back to Naruto's room to check on him. We've stopped the bleeding and have bandaged him up. He shouldn't be leaving for a couple of days, Lord Hyashi, said a woman. Very good, now let him rest, he's been through enough tonight, said Hyashi as he too went to bed. A small grin appeared on his face as he thought of his oldest daughter's reaction when she awoke tomorrow. Naruto awoke to find he was not lying on the cold hard ground but in a warm bed. He sat up, feeling his movement was slightly restricted. He looked at his stomach to see bandages wrapped around his lower torso. Where am I? He thought as he looked around the room. It was pretty plain. It had white walls with a small window to his right that was allowing the sun to shine through. The floors were covered in a grey carpet. The bed he was laying in was drd in white sheets and a white cover. A white pillow was behind him. To his right he saw his cloths cleaned and folded neatly in a chair beside him. He jumped out of bed and pulled them on. As he bent down to pull on his sandals, he felt a little resistance. He looked to see that he had forgotten to take the bandages off. He took his shirt off and undid the bandage, revealing a scarless belly. He carefully rewrapped the bandages and placed them on the chair. He opened the window to make a quiet getaway when the door opened. You know, with the injury you received, it probably isn't a good idea to move around too much, said Hiashi. Naruto turned to face the head Hyuga. His eyes stared angrily at the man who had just saved his life. What do you care? It's not like I'm anything important to you, said Naruto. No, but someone important to me thinks you are, said Hiashi. As Naruto made to leave, he stopped in his tracks. You lie, nobody thinks I'm important now. If you don't mind, I've got training to do. And with that, Naruto jumped out of the window. Could you at least come back for breakfast? Asked Hiashi. Naruto turned to Hiashi, then gave him a curt nod. He then took off towards the forest that was well beyond the Hyuga complex. Hiashi then took after him, determined to find out what Hinata sees in the boy. He followed Naruto to a small clearing. There he watched as Naruto warmed up with a few stretches. After he warmed up, he then put his hands into his pocket and pulled out a few kunai. Then he threw them into the air one at a time, each hitting the other, causing them to stay up. Then they all flew in different directions, hitting a tree in a perfect straight line. Then he walked over and pulled out each kunai. Hiashi turned his attention to the right of Naruto to see a man with gray hair walk towards him. He was about in his 20s. Hey Naruto, said Mizuke-sensei. Naruto stopped his training and looked up at him. What do you want? He glared. I was just wondering if you still wanted to make Janine, asked the crafty Chunin. What's the point if I make Janine? That just means that people will want to attack me even more than they do now, said Naruto. Not if you learn the jutsu a certain scroll they won't, said Mizuke. Naruto turned to his sensei. I'm listening, said Naruto. Mizuke walked closer to Naruto, then whispered something in his ear that Hiashi couldn't hear. After he finished, Naruto for the first time in a year grinned. You've got a deal now, let me get back to my training, said Naruto, scowling. Mizuke nodded, then left him to it. Naruto then turned to the tree. He then did a series of hand signs, then opened his mouth and blew a wave of fire at the tree, turning it to ashes within seconds. Incredible, the boy's chakra is high enough for him to use that level of jutsu, thought Hiashi. Then Naruto turned to another tree. He performed some hand signs, then shouted. Clone jutsu. 3 exact copies of Naruto appeared out of thin air. But if he can use that, why didn't he when he took the exams? Thought Hiashi. Then it came to him. What's the point if I make Janine? That just means that people will want to attack me even more than they do now. Hiashi sighed. What had been done to this boy to make him the way he is? From what Hinata told him, Naruto used to be full of energy, always smiling at every little thing. Then one day he came to class and his smile was gone. He was no longer the happy Naruto we all knew. It was as if his heart had turned to stone, said Hinata. Hiashi jumped down from the tree he was hiding in. Hey Naruto, got a minute? He asked. Naruto turned to him. I was wondering how long you were going to stay up there, he said, looking at Hiashi. I was wondering if you could tell me what made you the person you are, asked Hiashi. Taking a seat in the cool grass, Naruto eyed him suspiciously. What makes you think I'm any different from when I was younger? Asked Naruto. Hinata told me you used to smile and laugh with everyone else, then in one day you changed, said Hiashi. Well, she's wrong, I just took off my mask, said Naruto, walking out of the woods. Hiashi followed, knowing the discussion was over for now. Naruto walked to his apartment when Hiashi stopped him. I thought you said you were having breakfast with us, he said to Naruto. Naruto sighed, then walked back to the Hyuga complex with Hiashi. They walked inside. Hiashi led him to the dining hall, where a giant table was piled with many different foods. 2 girls and a boy were already sitting at the table waiting for Hiashi. Father, we were worried you'd been in a fight, said the littlest. No, I'm fine, Hanabi, said Hiashi, taking his seat at the head of the table. Naruto stood at the doorway. Oh yes, we'll be having a guest dining with us today, said Hiashi, motioning for Naruto to come in. He looked at his oldest daughter to watch her face instantly turn a magnificent red as Naruto took a seat in front of her. Thank you, Lord Hiashi, said Naruto, bowing respectfully before taking his seat. Not at all, my boy, now eat your fill, said Hiashi merrily. Naruto nodded again and grabbed a bowl and filled it with a small portion of rice. May I ask you your name? Said the boy beside Hanabi. I'm Naruto Uzumaki, said Naruto. The boy then glared angrily at Naruto as if he was some sort of diseased vermin. Naruto saw this and lowered his gaze to the bowl of rice in his hand. He grabbed a set of chopsticks then began to eat. Once he had finished the rice he replaced the bowl then looked at Hiashi. Thank you for the breakfast Lord Hiashi, now I must be going, said Naruto. You can't possibly be full from such a small portion of rice, said Hiashi. No, that was plenty, said Naruto standing up. Suddenly his stomach chose to act on its own and let out a mighty growl. Naruto's face instantly turned the same red as Hinata's, maybe even a shade darker if it was possible. Well, your stomach says otherwise, said Hiashi with a mischievous grin. Naruto sighed and sat down, then grabbed his bowl and had another portion of rice as he made to put the spoon back into the pot that held the rice. After he finished his second bowl he replaced it, then set his chopsticks on top of it, then he bowed his head in respect for the chef. Now I really must be going, said Naruto standing up for the second time. Hiashi smiled again. Very well Naruto, he said as Naruto got up to leave. Hiashi noticed Hinata's eyes following him out the door. Hinata, why don't you skip our midday training and have some fun, said Hiashi. Hinata's eyes darted from where Naruto had been to her father. Oh no, I couldn't do that, said Hinata. I insist, said Hiashi. Hinata nodded, knowing that once her stubborn father made up his mind there was no changing it. She got up and took off after Naruto. Oh, Hinata, if you see Naruto why not ask him why he's so miserable, asked Hiashi. Hinata's face turned a violent shade of crimson. Why, yes sir, said Hinata. Then she took off after the boy that she'd had a crush on since the day he saved her. Flashback. Hinata is playing on a small swing set when a boy that was wearing a white shirt with a red leaf symbol on it. His untidy blonde hair appeared to be spiked walked over to her. My name's Naruto Uzumaki, what's yours? Asked the younger Naruto. Hinata Hyuga, said the younger Hinata. She was wearing a simple pink dress with a blue floral pattern. How come you're playing by yourself? He asked, looking around. Hinata looked at the boy and blushed. Nobody seems to like me, said Hinata. Well, I'll play with ya if you don't mind, said Naruto nervously. Oh yes, I would like that very much, said Hinata happily. Naruto smiled, then he walked behind Hinata and began to push her. How's this, Hinata? He asked as she rose steadily higher. This is great, she said as a woman that looked like an older version of her walked towards them. Well, what do we have her, Hinata? Asked the woman. He's my friend, said Hinata, causing Naruto to grin brightly. Oh, your friend, huh? And may I ask your name, good sir? Said the woman. I'm Naruto Uzumaki, the next Hokage. Who are you? Asked Naruto. I'm Lady Hyoma Hyuga, Hinata's mother, said Hyoma. Nice to meet you, said Naruto, holding out his hand to shake Hyoma's but not watching where he was, causing Hinata to hit him on her backswing, sending him tumbling forwards. Oh, my Naruto, are you alright? Asked Hinata, jumping off the swing. Naruto jumped to his feet. Yeah, I'm fine, he said with another grin. He hadn't noticed that he had SD his right arm until he felt blood run down his hand. He looked down, then wiped the blood away. Oh, you poor dear, you're hurt, said Hyoma, reaching for his arm. Nah, I've had worse, said Naruto. You alright, Hinata? He added. Yes, I'm fine, Naruto, said Hinata. Naruto was pushed on his butt as Hinata's mother began to tend his wound. Lady Hyuga, I'm fine, he said as she fussed over his arm. There was a sudden rustle in the bushes behind them. Then 3 ninjas jumped out from behind them. One grabbed Hinata, the other her mother, the third threw Naruto aside. Naruto got to his feet. The 3 laughed as he got into a fighting stance. Oh, how cute, the little guy wants to fight, said the one that threw him aside. He started walking towards the Hokage wannabe. So kid, you want to play? Said the ninja as he started to do some hand signs. Then a wave of water knocked Naruto off his feet, sending him flying. He slowly made his way back to his feet. I'm only going to tell you this once, let them go, he said boldly. Oh look, the brat's getting angry, said the one holding Hinata. He and his partner made similar movements and their captives were out cold. Naruto watched as both of them hit the ground hard. His fists balled as anger welled up inside him. I'm going to kill you, he said as he looked at the men who were laughing hysterically. Naruto let out an earth-shattering roar and attacked them. The men laughed and left him run right by them. He turned and faced them. Then he threw a kunai that he had hidden in his pants pocket and threw it at one of the ninja. Hitting him in the arm, the ninja tool bounced off like it was made of plastic. That little brat tried to hit me, said one of the ninja in astonishment. Let's make him suffer, said the one of the others as they advanced towards him. There was a soft as Hinata began to stir. Hey guys, we only need one Hyuga, right? Asked one of the ninja. Yeah, why? Asked another. Then let's K the little one and take the mother, said the other. The three ninjas nodded in agreement and advanced towards Hinata. Naruto watched as they took the kunai he had thrown and plunged it into her shoulder. The anger that had welled up inside him exploded as a burst of red chakra enveloped his entire being. His once blue eyes were now scarlet red with vertical SS for pupils. The three ninja looked at him not with amusement but with terror and fear as the chakra emanating from him scorched the grass with every step he took. The whisker marks on his face that were once thin and scar-like were now thick and black like real whiskers. His fingernails had lengthened into claws. He then ran at the ninja and disappeared without a trace, then reappeared in with blood covering his body as it sprayed from the end of the ninja that had knocked Hinata's mother out. He then ran and disappeared again, this time taking out the one that had injured Hinata. His claws were drenched in blood. It desped in thick globes from his fingertips. He looked at the last of the ninja. His mask-covered face showed fear. As he watched Naruto run towards him, then thrust his claws into his chest, piercing through his heart. Naruto then pulled back his arm to reveal the still beating heart, then he crushed it, causing the blood to fly all over his face and body. Once he was done, the three ninja were their now rotting corpses leaked blood onto the grass. Naruto looked to see that both Hinata and Lady Hyoma were staring at him with fear. Naruto then fled from the area. Hinata wasn't sure, but she thought she heard him crying. End flashback. Naruto was making his way to the Hokage's office that was now empty due to the third having a meeting today in another village. He smirked as he snuck silently into the most protected building in the village without being detected. He then found himself within the Hokage's office. He was facing a large wooden desk that was on top of a hardwood floor. The walls were covered with red paint like the outside walls. He then walked over to a large filing cabinet and opened the bottom drawer, opened it and pulled out a scroll that was as large as the inside of the drawer. He then grabbed the scroll and jumped through an open window, then took off to the forest to the clearing where he trained. He then pulled open the scroll to find the first jutsu he could learn. It was the Shadow Clone Jutsu, allows the user to make solid copies of themselves, thought Naruto. He then read and reread the diagrams and hand signs until he had them memorized, then he started to practice. Hinata searched high and low for Naruto but didn't see hide or hair of her secret crush. She sat on a bench near the forest to catch her breath when she saw the person that she had been searching for most of the morning enter the forest. She followed him silently until he stopped at a small clearing. She had seen him train here often but didn't want to disturb him. She noticed something large was tied to his back. He then pulled it off and out of view. He sat there for several minutes. Then he stood up, still staring at the object. Then he did a single hand sign. Shadow Clone Jutsu. He shouted. The area was filled with some. Once it cleared, there were about 10 Narutos in the clearing. Naruto then looked at the scroll again. Then he turned to the clones and told them to do something that she couldn't hear. They nodded, then ran to the right of the group a good ways away. Then one threw a kunai at the other, causing it to disappear in a puff of smoke. Then the real Naruto shuddered from what she wasn't sure, as the other clones disappeared as well. Then he turned back to the item he laid on the ground and began to stare at it again. Hinata's curiosity got the better of her and she hopped closer as quietly as possible. The third Hokage entered his office after a peaceful negotiation with the fourth Kazekage for this year's Chunin exams. He looked to see his filing cabinet was still open. He looked inside to see that the scroll containing all of the village's forbidden jutsu. Call all Junin and Chunin level ninja to the roof of my office at once, he told an Ambu that was acting as his bodyguard. The masked ninja nodded, then disappeared in a puff of smoke. The Hokage made his way to the roof of the building. He looked into the drawer to see a small picture, hand-drawn picture of Naruto was left behind. He made his way up to the roof of the building, where he saw about 50 ninjas waiting for him. Naruto Uzumaki has taken the forbidden jutsu scroll. He must be found and the scroll returned, said the third. Yes, Sir, said the ninjas in unison. Then they dispersed into separate directions. The third then walked back to his office. He reached into the drawer of his desk and pulled out a small black pearl. He then placed it onto the top of the desk. He then focused his chakra into the orb. It started to glow for a few seconds. Then Naruto came into view. I hope they find him in time, thought the third. Naruto lay on the ground panting heavily. He felt proud of himself for mastering 3 jutsu from the scroll already. He was about to look up the fourth, something about self-summoning, when he heard a noise. He turned to the area to see. Mizuki-sensei, said Naruto. Very good, Naruto. How many jutsus did you learn? Asked Mizuki with a slight grin on his face. Sorry Mizuki-sensei, I didn't learn more than 1, said Naruto, rolling up the scroll. He was about to give it to Mizuki when someone else entered the area. It was Iruka. Good work Mizuki. Now Naruto, give me the scroll so we can take it back to the Hokage, said Iruka. Naruto looked suspiciously at both Mizuki and Iruka-sensei, then he started to back away. Come on you little brat, hand over that scroll, said Mizuki, growing impatient. What's going on? What's so special about this scroll? Asked Naruto. That scroll contains a list of the village's forbidden jutsu. The third has sent every ninja in the village after you give it back now, and you won't be punished, said Iruka. Naruto's emotionless face stared at Iruka, then back to Mizuki. Come on kid, give me the scroll. I'm the only one who ever tried to help you, said Mizuki. I'm sorry to say Mizuki-sensei, I've never really trusted you, nor have I trusted you Iruka-sensei, said Naruto. He took another step back. Hey Naruto, want me to let you in on a little secret as to why the entire village hates you? Asked Mizuki. Mizuki, no, said Iruka. Why then? Asked Naruto, annoyed. The reason is because you really are a monster. You're the container for the 9-tailed fox. The monster that destroyed the village resides inside you, said Mizuki, laughing. Naruto stared at him in shock. That would explain everything. Why when I fight I go into a bloodlust. I always thought there was something weird about me, but I never, he thought as he took off into the woods. Naruto, come back, shouted Iruka as Naruto took off. Hinata had fallen asleep against a tree watching Naruto from a distance until she'd heard a noise that woke her. She looked to see Mizuki and Iruka standing in front of Naruto. You're the container for the 9-tailed fox. The monster that destroyed the village resides in you, said Mizuki. Hinata felt as if she had gone into shock as every part of her body went numb. It can't be true, Naruto's the 9-tailed fox, she thought. She felt herself unwillingly chasing after Naruto. All she knew was that she had to catch him to talk to him. Why she didn't know. She ran through the grove that Mizuki and Iruka had just left moments before, then followed Naruto's trail. Byakugan, she said as the veins in her temples popped out. Her pupilless eyes seemed to focus. She could see things that the normal eye couldn't pick up. She soon saw Naruto's chakra signature ahead of her. She was soon in the same area. What she saw put her to her knees. Naruto was sitting against a tree crying. The scroll was now DRD over his back by a single piece of rope. Hinata slowly approached him. Naruto, she stuttered timidly. Quote. Naruto, she said again. Stay back Hinata, I don't know what I am, he said at last. What you talking about, she said. You heard them, I know you were there, said Naruto. Hinata stood there unknowing what to say. She started to point her index fingers together. The trees around them began to rustle. The sound of a buzzsaw could be heard, then a giant shuriken flew through the air. Naruto didn't even think. He just jumped in front of Hinata, taking the attack in the chest, just missing his heart, but it LD his right lung. Naruto's lung filled with blood. He started to cough violently as the blood gushed out of his mouth and wound. Naruto coughed again as his blood began to pool up on the ground. Naruto why? Asked Hinata. I don't know, I just did, said Naruto, pulling the shuriken from his chest. Well, looks like I get to be the big hero of the village, or I would be if I wasn't going to the village hidden in the rain, said Mizuki coming from behind a tree. Mizuki-sensei, what are you talking about? Said Hinata. I told Naruto to grab that scroll so that I could bring it to the hidden rain as a show of good faith. I would have taken Naruto with me, but he had to grow a conscience. Well, that just means that I can rid the world of the 9-tailed monster once and for all, said Mizuki, pulling out another giant shuriken. He threw it at Naruto again. This time it was blocked by Iruka. Naruto, Hinata, leave quickly, get to the Hokage, said Iruka, holding the giant shuriken in his hand. Mizuki started to laugh, then he started to glow a strange purple color, then he started to change, his body grew to the size of a pro bodybuilder. Hair started to sprout from his now exposed upper body, the transformation finished with him looking like a muscled version of Tony the Tiger, Alto FN. I don't own him either. Thanks to a friend of mine, I'll be the most powerful ninja in the village hidden in the rain, said Mizuki. He then ran at Naruto but was blocked by Iruka, who was thrown backwards by Mizuki's superior strength. Naruto watched the events unfold before him with little remorse for his sensei as he got thrown around like a rag doll. Naruto, Hinata, get out of here, shouted Iruka. Hinata looked at Naruto, who seemed to relish the fight that was going on between the two Chunin. Naruto, come on, we've got to go, said Hinata, pulling on Naruto's arm. He looked at her with a bit of a start. Oh Hinata, I'd forgotten you were here, he said. Then he and Hinata took off through the trees, then a blood-curdling scream filled the air. Oh no, Iruka-sensei, said Hinata. Finally someone got what he deserved, said Naruto coldly. Hinata stopped in her tracks. How can you say that, she said. Simple, he got what he deserved, said Naruto again. What's happened to you, asked Hinata. Whatever could you mean? Asked Naruto with an innocent look. You never acted like this before, what happened to change you? Asked Hinata. You want to know what made me what I am? It's people who made me what I am, said Naruto. I don't understand, said Hinata. Naruto sighed. When I had failed the Jonin exam the first time around, I was cornered by some older Jonin. They started to attack me. I did my best to fight them off, but an 8-year-old ain't gonna do much good against 3 14-year-olds. I ran as fast as I could until I ran into an ambu. I thought that I was safe then until the boys came. I turned and the ambu was nowhere to be found. I took a fighting stance, then I blacked out. When I came to, I was standing over the boss of the 3 Jonin. I had enjoyed whatever it was that I had done and I wanted to do it again. Until I realized where I was, then I ran off, vowing from that day to never trust anyone again and to take care of my own problems, said Naruto. Naruto, said Hinata. A rusting sound was heard, then Mizuki appeared. He was holding the limp body of Iruka. He then threw it aside like a dirty rag. Iruka let out a small gasp as he hit the dirt. This is perfect. I can say that I saw the QB brat attack Iruka and I had no choice but to K him. You there, you will be my witness unless you want to end up as the QB's next victim, said Mizuki. Hey, I guess you're QB right. Listen, I need your power, thought Naruto, and dark laughter could be heard echoing through his mind. I've been waiting for you to ask for it. Now I will grant you as much as you wish, seeing only because we are joined, and I do not wish for death, said a dark voice in his head. Thank you, thought Naruto. The whole while he was doing this, his eyes were closed. Looks like the fox brat is getting in a last prayer. Alright monster, time to shouted Mizuki. Naruto smirked, then opened his eyes. They were no longer dark blue but scarlet red. The scar-like whiskers had thickened and become more defined. His fingernails had lengthened considerably into claws. You know, Mizuki, I've known about the power within me since I was about 6, but I was always afraid I'd if I used it too much, but now I know that this power will not K me. I don't have to hold it back, said Naruto with a maniacal grin on his face. He then started to laugh hysterically as red chakra engulfed his body. You wanted to fight a demon, didn't? Well, here's all the demon you can handle, he said again as the chakra took the form of a one-tailed fox. Naruto then ran at his former sensei, then did a barrage of kicks and punches, giving him no room to attack. Naruto then pulled a kunai out of his holster and drove it into Mizuki's chest, then he dragged it across, causing blood to spray him like a sprinkler. Naruto relished his bloodbath, then jumped back from Mizuki, allowing him a few seconds to recover from the wound. Then Naruto ran at him again, laughing like a maniac as he started to Mizuki with his claws. His ninja tools lay to the side, disregarded. Then he laughed as he felt the blood cover his entire body. With one final slash, Naruto spared off a piece of Mizuki's arm. The tiger-haired skin shriveled into ashes. In Naruto's chakra-carved palm, Mizuki was now on his knees, gasping for air. His body was now drenched in his own blood. This is impossible. I should be the one who's winning, said Mizuki. I think it's time to end this, said Naruto. He then preformed a T-like hand sign, then shouted Shadow Clone Jutsu. The area was then filled with hundreds of Narutos. Each one had a fox shroud over them. Mizuki's face had become filled with fear as he stared at the many Narutos. Time to S. They all shouted as they came at him. Within seconds all that was left of Mizuki was a bloody pile of F. All of the Narutos disappeared, leaving only the original. Naruto felt incredible. He had the power to kill everyone in the village who had ever wronged him. I will have my vengeance, he thought. A grunt brought him out of his thoughts as he turned to see Iruka get to his feet with the help of Hinata. He smirked as he turned to face the two, his blood-soaked claws itching for another victim as he drew closer to his targets. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.